I have quite a story. My husband and I cheated on each other last year. Ever since he found out about me, it's been daily abuse on his end, mostly verbal, but has escalated to physical a couple of times. Let me give you a bit of a backstory. We have been married 7 years, but have been together longer. We were pretty open with our sex life a couple years after getting married. Since it was always a fantasy of his, we had threesomes, and he liked sexting other women. At first I would get jealous, but I eventually got used to it. Early in our marriage, he confessed to me he had sex with a sex worker when we had started dating, then getting a happy ending massage a few months into our marriage, and a couple of years later going to a strip club and getting a lap dance. He came back sad, feeling horrible with himself, and I appreciated his honesty, so I forgave him and moved on. He began to disrespect me more as time passed. He was addicted to porn ever since we were married, and when I confronted him about it, he said it was his business and would not stop. I was never a jealous girl, but he began buying OnlyFans subscriptions. He preferred to masturbate instead of actual sex. I found screenshots of a bunch of women, even a couple of my friends, and that started bothering me. Every time I would bring it up, he would explode. He began to make ugly comments about my appearance, that I was ugly, he didn't love me, etc. Every time I mentioned something that bothered me, he would say I was bitching. So I started harbouring a lot of resentment and anger towards him. Then I made the horrible decision to have an affair with an old co-worker. I spoke to him for a whole month. I slept with the other person once, and as soon as the actuals happened, I cut it off. I felt disgusted, horrible, but I hid it. Strangely, we started doing a lot better after, but it was eating me up alive having to hide it. I denied it to my husband when he was suspicious. I was terrified what his reaction would be since he had a very bad temper. No excuse, I should have been honest. He ended up finding out later, and I kept telling bits and pieces until I finally fully confessed. He ended up sleeping with 2 women after and doing sexual acts with other 2. Within the span of 3 months, I began going to therapy to find out the reasons and work on my character flaws, because I never want to be a person who can harm someone the way I did. And I will never excuse my actions because no matter what, nobody deserves betrayal. Now, my husband is the one who is on that path of revenge. He brags about the sex and the girls he talks to, makes nasty comments to and about me. It hurts me to see that he is on such an angry and painful path. We have 2 kids and 1 on the way. Horrible timing, I know, but we found out about the pregnancy at the same time he found out about the affair. I try and understand that some of his actions might be fueled by his anger and hurt, but I'm not even sure if the marriage is worth saving anymore. It's been too much hurt these past months, and even though I know I'm capable of forgiveness and I always try to see the best in people, I know he isn't like that. He's never wanted to take accountability for any of his actions. I feel he will always see me as the cheater and the problem no matter what I do. And I know what I am, so what I did, and am working every day to better myself as a person. But I'm not sure if we have fallen too far this time. Story 2. Girlfriend cheated after 18 years and 3 kids. I've been contemplating posting this here, but fuck it. I have been with my girlfriend for around 18 years. We have 3 kids under 5, a house, cogs, the whole 9 yards. But we were never married. In January, I found where she sent nudes to some co-worker from work, whom she later admitted to sleeping with after work one night in December. She claims she didn't really know him at all. He asked for a ride home from work. She accepted an invitation inside, and they had sex spontaneously. She has been very forthcoming with information and details, and I do believe she is remorseful and regretful. But it's so hard to know if it really was just a once-off in-the-moment thing or if there's more to it. The problem is she sent the nudes after leaving the guy's house, so how remorseful could she be? Not only that, but I found out on my own she didn't confess. She also didn't block him on Snapchat, though I did see where she told him to leave her alone and not talk to her again. She claims her mental state has been awful and that it meant nothing, and she didn't even enjoy it. But that's no excuse to throw away your family for some rando. She hasn't cheated on me in the past that I know of, and she has been a great mother and partner over our relationship. This is just hard to reconcile with the image of her I had in my head before. I've started therapy and SSRIs as a result, and it's been very hard to decide what to do. Is it even worth the effort at this point? It's hard to make a decision with so much on the line. Update. I found out about the cheating on January 19th, and she went to her mom's for a week. But I caved and let her and the kids back when my oldest asked to come home. She's 7, the other 2 are under 5, just to amend that mistake above. She's agreed to start therapy both individually and together, and I agreed to try and stick around to see what that might dig up, but it is a daily struggle. I've since decided she needs to go back to her mom's on Monday while she begins therapy as soon as her insurance clears. She would have gone back earlier in the week, but my kids and friends are throwing me a birthday party tomorrow, and I didn't have the heart to do it before that. Jeśli gotów, szli trzecią historię. Story 3. Probably one of the worst cheating stories ever. I'm feeling nothing. I'm numb. I decided to finally get this off my chest, even though this happened fairly. I'm a stay-at-home mom, or at least I was. I had my first child with my partner, a beautiful baby boy, back in May of this year. The new addition to our little family, including Hilda, from a previous relationship that I took care of as my own and refers to me as Mommy. I was so excited to have a family of my own. I've worked most of my life, including my entire pregnancy, so being a stay-at-home mom was very new to me. In the beginning, it was extremely challenging, but eventually I got the hang of it. My partner would handle majority of the bills and expenses while I'd take care of the kids, housework, dinner, and make his lunches for work. My partner worked overnight shifts, so on top of taking care of the children, I was in charge of waking him up for work, which wasn't an easy task at all. Much like a child, he'd throw fits and yell as I attempt to wake him, alarm after alarm, all the while I cook dinner and get the kids ready for bed. Eventually he'd wake up, but not late, it'd be too late, because then it'd be my fault. I will say my partner was mostly faithful, with some slip-up where I'd catch texts of him flirting with co-workers or old flings, and we had one big cheating incident a few weeks before I went into labour. Why I stayed? I don't know. Helplessness? Wanting a family of my own like I never had? I don't know. Maybe. After the birth of my son, things seemed to be getting better. My partner worked hard and was promoted twice in less than a year, bringing in more money to our household and boosting his ego. I continued to do my part, cook, clean, make his lunch, and wake him for work. One night, I'm doing my usual routine cooking, making his lunch, and then I wake him for work. But this time something felt off. My intuition was telling me something. I tried to fight these thoughts, but I just couldn't. That night after he left for work, I went for my usual run. After I put the kids to bed, having my sister look after them, I'd run through our apartment complex and to a trail not too far. Shockingly, while on my run, I saw my partner's car parked at a different part of our complex, and my heart sunk into my chest. Why was he here? He said he was going to work. I checked my phone and lo and behold, his location was turned off. Funny enough, we only shared locations as his idea to prove his loyalty to me. He comes home earlier than usual the next day, act clueless. I don't know what to think. He comes in bearing gifts, but I could hardly make eye contact because my mind is racing with suspicion. As he showers like clockwork, I check his phone. To my surprise, I see text messages between him and a young lady who lives in the same apartment building as us. He's telling her how he's on his way to her to give her vitamin D. They just met the day before. My heart sinks. He had me wake him up, make him lunch, and look me in my eyes and said he was leaving for work. This was the ultimate betrayal. How could he do this? I hear the water stop. I quickly jump and put the phone back where I found it. This is where I go completely numb. He hops out the shower talking to me normally. I act oblivious and ask him about work. He says it was any easy night. I bet it was. Another day passes. It's time for him to go to work again. This time I check his phone before because I had that same feeling again. And like last time, he was pretending again. So I played along. I made his lunch extra special this time. I seasoned every dish with as much Morton's salt as I could. I filled his fancy flask with dishwater. I made his sandwiches that he loves so much with spit and old fish grease. I kissed him goodbye and told him I loved him with so much excitement. Later that night, when I went on my run and saw his car parked once again in the same spot, I lost it. I went upstairs to our apartment and grabbed every messy condiment I could find, and I decorated his car. I filled it with the trash he'd been neglecting to take out. Dirty Pampers, rotten tissue, waste, etc. I blacked out. I couldn't wait for him to see the mess I made. It could be worse. This is the beginning of when you break a person. Story 4. At my first job out of college, I became quick friends with another guy, Scott, 3 years older than me. We would pal around hitting the bars and such in town. As we opened up more to each other, he told me about how his last girlfriend, Jodie, cheated on him. He shared after she broke up with him he was heartbroken, couldn't eat or sleep, felt that constant anxiety about it. I had had a similar experience with my first girlfriend when she broke it off with me. Jodie worked at the same place as us, but in a different building. She was the daughter of a prominent figure in town, and her family really liked Scott. They dated for a little over a year, and he thought she was the one until a week before Christmas, when she abruptly and without warning broke up with him. It took Scott a long time to get over her, and that was compounded by the fact it came out she was pregnant that following spring. When the child was born, Scott figured out that she had to have gotten pregnant about 4 weeks at most after the breakup. She quickly married the guy, and they are actually still together today with a second child. Years start ticking, and over that span I met my wife, got engaged, married, she took a job for a year, then switched to where I worked. My wife, Emma, works with Jodie directly, and they become quick friends. Scott, I started hanging out less and less as I got more involved with Emma and started spending more weekends with her. We were LDR for about 18 months. Emma isn't shy and asked about Jodie's relationship with Scott. Jodie stated that while initially the relationship was good, as time passed, Scott had more and more red flags. First, he was really immature for 25 years old. He seemed to want to still live a college life. He liked to go out drinking a lot, but always had too much and would piss the bed in his sleep. He didn't really have any plans future-wise and had a lot of deep, bigoted opinions. He also didn't put a lot of effort into the relationship, like dates, communication, etc. She was pretty much over it months before finally ending it. She would bring up concerns and he would always play victim, guilt-trip her, all while her family thought he was just great, and would kind of dismiss her concerns if she talked to them about Scott. Jodie said her family didn't hide the fact that they were upset she broke up with him. Finally, she had enough. Knew she just had to end it, take her things and go. She needed to be quick and stern and not show emotion, or she would just get guilted into staying. And that's what she did in December. Not wanting to just sit around wallowing, she took a friend up on an invite to a New Year's Eve party where she met a guy, Carter. They exchanged info that night and had their first official date that week. When Jodie started puberty in middle school, she had horrible menstrual symptoms and had been taken to see a specialist. They managed to get her symptoms under control, but through the tests discovered she did have a reproductive issue. I don't remember what, but she did tell Emma. The doctors told her and her parents then that it would be extremely unlikely that she ever conceive naturally. Jodie, always thinking she was sterile, admitted to Emma she wasn't the best at using protection and never had been on birth control. Her and Carter's relationship turned sexual almost immediately, and because of Jodie's belief they didn't use any form of contraception, and she got pregnant against the odds. They took that whirlwind situation and got married right away as well. 3 years later, they tried and had a second child without much effort, making her question if she really had these complications at all, and thankful that she hadn't accidentally got pregnant in HS or college. Up to the point he moved away, Scott avoided Jodie like she was plague. He always believed she had been cheating, and that's why she broke up with him. He never once talked about their relationship as having any issues or problems. I had to admit I did agree with Jodie's assessment of immaturity. Over our time as friends, I saw that Scott really didn't seem to ever want to grow up. Even with his wife, After a couple years of dating, his first grand gesture was to buy her a promise ring like they were HS sophomores, and he was in his 30s by this point. We're all in our 40s now. Scott moved back to his hometown and finally married his now wife. They have 3 kids. A few years later, Emma and I moved on. Jodie and her husband still live in the same place. I always think of this story when I hang out in the relationship threads on Reddit, because you only ever get one side of a story. Wonder how many are as vastly different as this one once you get the other side.